today onwards, Shell is declared persona non grata in Ogoni. No to Shell! No to Shell!
That's January 4, 1993 declaration by poet, author, and environmental activist Ken Saro-Wiwa holds sway in Ogoni land 32 years after martyrdom, alongside 8 of his kinsmen. Oil exploration and exploitation stopped in Ogoni land, and so does revenue to Rivers State and the federal government. Its complex history of oil exploration and environmental pollution dates back to 1950. Now meeting in Port Harcourt, the Rivers State capital, to discuss oil exploration in the Niger Delta region are leaders of over 10 civil society organizations.
Any meeting of stakeholders of Ogoni should take place in Ogoni land.
They expressed concern about a purported meeting scheduled to hold in the presidential villa on Tuesday.
What I want President Tinubu to do is to stop the meeting that it's about having with Ogoni people and come to Ogoni land, to apologize to the Ogoni people, to listen to the plights of the Ogoni people, to see for himself how Ogoni look like, and not to just come and talk about oil, because he has promised the world that he's going to ramp up oil production to 2 million barrels, 3 million barrels. It is not Ogoni oil. There is blood on Ogoni oil.
This is the second time the president is inviting some stakeholders, selected or known by him or by those close to him, to the villa for a discussion that concerns the entire Ogoni people. We expect, at this point in time, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu will come to Ogoni and then come out for a stakeholders engagement meeting. If this happened in Osun State or Yoruba land, where the president comes from, I'm sure President Tinubu would have taken a very serious action.
The cleanup of the Niger Delta environment is also on the front burner at this meeting in the Rivers State capital.
The government of Nigeria, alongside its allies, the multinational companies who have destroyed and killed a lot of people in the Niger Delta, should put aside $1 trillion for immediate cleanup of the Niger Delta.
We want them to also come and clean up our creeks, our rivers, our streams, so that those who are fishermen will continue fishing and have good livelihoods.
They should look passionately into the Ogoni Bill of Rights, of the legitimate demands of the people, which other ethnic nationalities are enjoying in abundance, even without having an oil well. Look at what oil money has done in Abuja that does not have one oil well. The people that have oil can no longer eat.
The CSOs also reject divestment plans by the international oil companies.
There is no proper consultation with the people as regards why are we divesting? What does it mean to divest? How do we clean up the mess that their business have caused over the past 7 decades? Since that is not done, the impression created is that we are handing over to whoever they want to take over. And then they are even giving loans to the people that are buying off this asset.
Ovieteme George, Arise News.
Well, Martha Agbani is the director of Lokokia Community Development Center. She joins us now to have a quick conversation about this development. Thank you so much for joining us, Martha. Welcome to Newsday.
Thank you for having me.
Well, we know that the president met with the leaders of Rivers State and emphasized the need for peace, obviously, and for work done in Ogoni land, for the leaders to set aside their historical challenges, their historical grievances, and to work with the government. How feasible is this? How can the government go about rebuilding the trust when it seems like there hasn't been any justice for Ken Saro-Wiwa and the other Ogoni individuals who were killed in the issue between Shell and the activists some decades back? Could you expound on that or shed some light on that?
Thank you so much, Mokpe. I simply wish to put it this way, that the president and his council know where Ogoni is because Shell had operated in Ogoni land for over 7 decades. So Ogoni environment is a very popular environment. And if any discussion should be held, the people come down to the environment, come down to the Ogoni environment, the Ogoni land, and discuss with the people. In the first place, the Ogoni people have also taken a proactive measure by sending several memoranda to the federal government of Nigeria. They've also made a lot of requests, part of which is the exoneration of Ken Saro-Wiwa and 8 others who were wrongly condemned to death by hanging. Respect of the Ogoni Bill of Rights. I mean, these are simple things. So you look at the content of the Ogoni Bill of Rights, you look at the United Nations Declaration of the Rights of Indigenous People, they are not just too different. And so the government has not considered that. And the Ogoni Bill of Rights actually stated the need for Nigerian government to consider the Ogoni people as a distinct entity, to be given their rights, political autonomy, and adequate representation in every economic activity. We look at federal capital, the federal principle, what they call it, the federal, there is this thing, it's just coming and going off my head now, that we are supposed to have every ethnic nationality being represented on that. You don't find the Ogoni people there. When the NDDC was created, which we even felt, or the Ogoni people felt, was supposed to be an intervention or a reaction to the challenges of the Ogoni people to address their developmental challenges, you rarely find any Ogoni person there. And when this came up, when an Ogoni man was even given an opportunity to become the executive director of finance and administration, he didn't stay there much. He was removed. And there was no reason for him to have been, taken out of that position. He didn't spend even up to his right tenure to be there. So the Ogoni people are still highly underdeveloped. You get to an Ogoni environment today, when they see one borehole water being erected, people are happy. And this is what ordinarily wouldn't have been the case. Look at what is happening in Abuja. Look at how Lagos State is. Let's look at other areas too in Nigeria where they don't even have resources, but they are thriving very well. That is how the Ogoni is supposed to look like. There's high level of conflict in Ogoni land, instability, the youths are always bulging, and that is because there's unemployment. That is because the people are hungry. Today, they talk about artisanal refining, they call people thieves because they are going to get a resource from their own environment. All this because the government has not deemed it necessary to attend to people, to respect their rights first as a people. So government needs to sit back and look at all that. Ogoni leaders have been going to meet them, but I think that is not even the right thing to do. Government that wants a thing for the people needs to come down, listen to the people, and address their issues. We see what happened in the West, how the late His Excellency Abiola was, political rights, but that has been mended. Today, he's been exonerated and made, a one-time president by the acknowledgement of the which is the immediate past president. Now, going further with this, the Yorubas have taken that position. The Ogonis are not saying they should be made president, but even when they talked about the Bori state, it wasn't even considered. So these are issues that they need to address. And for the government to be talking about oil resumption now, for us, I think it's very, very untimely. Oh, the high prep project is just starting. I can milestone achievement. We don't want high prep to even be seen as a political patronage to the Ogoni people. It is a thing of their right to have access and live in a sustainable environment. So that has not even been given the right way it ought to be. Even the provisions that they've made so far to see that the environment is clean, we are not seeing it happening. I have been working personally. I have been doing a lot of mangrove restoration.
Time now for a short break. We're having some technical issues. We will return with the interview after this break. And welcome back to Newsday. Thank you for bearing with us. Martha Agbani is still with us. She's the director of the Lokokia Community Development Center, discussing the the developments about interest in looking for oil in Ogoni land. Thank you so much for being patient. We know that, we already know that the president met with the leaders, but now we want to talk about the how the Ogoni people feel about this new development.
Thank you, Mokpe, again. For the Ogoni, I think it's a mixed feeling for us as a people. Yes, nobody for now is saying they shouldn't have a re-entry of oil extraction. People are not saying that they shouldn't do that because there's hunger in the land. People need to survive. And we also gather that oil is a wasting resources and it's gotten a time limit. After now, looking at the SDGs and all that, very soon, fossil fuel or having carbon in the environment will be criminalized, within the global economy. So very soon, people will be transitioning, just as they are doing. The entire world will be looking at renewable energy and other sustainable energy. So why not have it now? We understand that quite well. But for us, it is not yet the right time for us as Ogoni people. This is simply because, like we said, HYPREP has not achieved much for whatever they are coming to do. We've not seen our vegetation, actually restored. We've not really seen the biodiversity actually being restored. We are still test running everything as a people to see that HYPREP actually has it rightly done. So that has not been achieved. And so coming in now to say they want to re-enter and resume on oil, for us is, what lessons have we learned? What lessons have the federal government learned? What technical capacities have they built on to say that, yes, this was what was happening? If they even worked with a multinational corporation that has gotten so many years of experience, which is the Shell Petroleum Development Company, and a lot of litigations are there against them, and Shell is divesting from the area, and we are seemingly hearing of a local content company coming to take over. And even with the legacies we've also gathered, look at what has been happening in Buguma. A lot of issues are there that we're saying that they could not put up the fire. And these are the people they are even projecting to come have Ogoni oil. How would they address that? And we are saying that the Ogoni oil has blood behind it. Some thought it was oil, but we are saying it was blood because lives went. 4,000 persons, that is what we could record. Those that are missing to date, we don't know. The trauma and everything. I work as an environmental justice practitioner. I work with women. And I see these women that were raped. These women that were victims. The woman that her hand was amputated, who does not even have is it a prothesis or whatever they call it, to be fixed on it. She lives at the mercy of people. Her children are gone. She's just there, no husband. And she has to beg practically to live and to eat. That's how she survives. An Ogoni woman that was fully okay with herself, her health and everything, but was shot by SPDC's third-party contractors, the then Webros. So government is not looking at all this. The Ogoni 9, the Ogoni 13, these were lives. These were not beggars. These were not persons that were looking for anything. You look at the academic giants that they actually brought down because they wanted to make a name. So we need to look at all this. There's a need for them to come down and address these issues, Mokwe. The government needs to respect the Ogoni people, and they need to seek their consent, their free, prior, and informed consent. We are not talking about this divide and rule. We are not talking about having a sect of Ogoni people being taken to Abuja and being bamboozled with issues about this is what they want to do with them on oil resumption. No. What we are saying is there needs to be active consultation, actual consultation, sitting on a round table with the Ogoni people, with the downtrodden. Come and assess the Ogoni environment. There are so many recommendations by UNEP, the UN Environment Program, on the Ogoni environment that has not been met in any way. There is no environmental audit. And let us not forget that there are so many communities that UNEP could not assess at the time.
Ms. Agbani, if you
and
would
we are
allow me
talking
to
about
interrupt
spills that are still
briefly.
ongoing.
If you'd allow me to interrupt you briefly, I'd like us to talk a bit about HYPREP. That's the Hydrocarbon Pollution Remediation Project. You talked about it earlier, saying it has not achieved much, but it says a significant number of its projects will be completed this year, 2025. It says projects like soil and groundwater remediation, shoreline cleanup, mangrove restoration, the Ogoni Specialist Hospital will be constructed, the Ogoni Power Project will be completed, amongst a number of other projects. How optimistic are you that all these projects, listed projects, can be achieved this year? And if they are achieved, will that lay the groundwork, for this discussion and negotiation on re-exploration of oil?
Okay, do I let you know that the Center for Excellence that they look at today, an integrated contaminated soil management center, that I headed that committee, and we chose the site where they are having the project. I need HYPREP executives to tell me which of the projects is actually completed. They've been touching a lot of projects, but none is completed. And like we're looking at mangrove restoration, for instance, they are just in a particular community trying to restore mangroves. And we know that it takes, on average, 8 years for a mangrove to grow to maturity. So we've not gotten any mature mangrove anywhere. We've not gotten any swamp forest restored that the people can go fetch even firewood from. We're not talking about the timber loggers. We're not talking about the clams, oysters, lobsters, the bloody cockle that we used to have in the environment. None of these things have been restored. Recently, the project coordinator shared a laboratory test they are trying to have on the bloody cockle. They are building that up to see how they can reintroduce that into the environment. And we're talking about an environment that people used to get to just by the river bank. You get all that you need for your food. These have been denied the Ogoni people. Those things that we find in our cuisines are no longer there. And you are telling me they've done something? No. I still say no. Even where they've carried out remediation, we still see spills occurring and reoccurring. So they have not done what we ought to see. Now, even in the water project, where they recirculated water to, we found out that they had heavy metals in them. And all they said was they should stop the usage of that water. We are talking about a place where we don't see the qualified contractors coming to work in an environment, coming to carry out remediation. And so much money has been spent on all this. So we shouldn't take it as a media thing that they mention numbers of things that they've done, but on ground we have nothing. We still have our women that are so sterile now, having fertility challenges because of the environment we live in. Have they been able to change the air we breathe? To look at the volatile organic compounds we find in our environment? These are still issues. We need to look at this. We need to calm down. And we want the president to actually come visit the site. We don't want the window dressing, that whenever someone is coming, the minister is coming around, they go, people put on coveralls, stand at their various remediation sites, acting as if they are working, while they are only upturning soils at the biocells. We don't want that. We want a meaningful thing. Even when we understand that contracts are given to non-indigenous contractors, or if I even put it, those that are not even experienced, having any experience that is close to whatever they are supposed to do. You see someone that is into vegetable processing, coming to become a remediation expert, gaining contracts. Someone that is into construction work, coming to take contracts at that level. So people are toiling with the Ogoni people's lives. Remember, UNEP stated that life expectancy is about 40. And if that is the case, we should imagine what is happening with all that is still happening within the environment. Relocations of persons that they are supposed to do, they've not even done all those things. Even how to keep the artisanal refiners, equipped that they will no longer go into the environment. We've not seen all those happening. So for us, Mokwe, this is not the right time to discuss oil resumption. There is need for them to have an environmental audit and a social impact assessment of the Ogoni environment and the people. There is need for them to come look at the content that UNEP stated. Even what UNEP said that Shell has to do, they've not even done all those things. We've not seen the schedule about their maintenance of the pipelines or the ones that they've decommissioned. All those things are not there. We need to have this so that we all understand that if they are actually coming in to say they want to start the oil resumption, then things have been put in place. We know that they cannot return the Ogoni environment to 100% how it used to be. But at least let's give them a pass mark. If they can take it up to 85, why not? But for us, there need to be lessons learned. There is need for us to understand why these things happened. In fact, my question is, why would the Ogoni people leave the oil in the soil for the past 3 decades, and all of a sudden, the government is rising up without being sensitive about the situation, coming to say they want to have the oil? The Ogoni case has been a litmus test to other countries, to other areas where oil extractions are taking place. People refer to the documents, and that is the only baseline that we even have. We need to remember that when Shell came, there were no proper environmental impact assessment. And so now that we are in this situation, there is need for them to carry out that audit, let us know what is there. And we are still saying that, for instance, what happened in Olobri, that oil dried up for how many years ago? A research was carried out, and they found out that the women in that environment have metals in their body. They have hydrocarbons in their system, their bloodstreams. So imagine the Ogoni area that has legacy spills. What do you think would have been happening to the people? So this is what they need to look at. They need to conquer proper health audit of the people. They need to ascertain the health status of these people before coming in to do this. And we are saying gas flaring should end, and they want to come in for fossil fuel extraction. Is there a new technology they are going to bring in?
These are great questions. Very, very good questions. Very important questions to ask. Martha, we thank you so much for joining us this afternoon. It is a uncomfortable situation, but we wish all the best for you and the Ogoni people in trying to navigate this space. That's Martha Agbani, Community Director of Lokokia Community Development Center. Thanks for joining us.